Hi, I'm Adrienne Brown. I am an associate professor in the Departments of English and Race, Diaspora, and Indigeneity. And for this year's admission cycle, the University of Chicago English Department is accepting applicants planning to focus their graduate work on media aesthetics. We are looking for students asking and answering questions about how distinct mediums such as print, performance, film, digital media, etc., shape aesthetic experience, as well as those studying historical and cultural approaches to media and mediation. We welcome applicants working across periods, nations, and languages. Today we convened a few members of the department to talk about how our own work engages media aesthetics and ways we understand that term and that phrasing. And to begin, I'm going to pass it to my colleague, Bill Brown.
Oh, thanks, Adrienne. I'm Bill Brown, and I teach in the Department of English, the Department of Visual Arts as well. And I'm completely excited about this theme. People have been thinking about media and media aesthetics for a very long time. And from the ancient world to the contemporary, my own work, my own current work falls under that rubric, and because I'm working on assemblage. So I think of it as this moment, post-war moment, where one medium in relation to another just becomes intensely foregrounded and felt for a long time.
Great. Hi, I'm Tina Post, and I am assistant professor of English and Theater and Performance Studies, and the affiliate with the Department of Visual Art as well. My own work thinks about racial performativity and the ways we inhabit the expectations of the containers of racialization. I think another exciting thing about the way the University of Chicago thinks about the container of medium is that it includes things like embodiment. So I've been working with a couple of other folks to devise a performance that's based on the aesthetics and ethics of skateboard culture, which is tremendously fun, but also really heady and really exciting ways to think about what that cultural container is, what it entails, what it demands of our bodies, how it interacts with space. Media can be really externally tangible, but I think it isn't only externally tangible as we think of it here.
I'm Ellen Mackay. I'm an associate professor in the English department. My area of specialty is Renaissance drama and Renaissance performance more broadly construed, and I'm also chair of Theater and Performance Studies. And I'm also on the faculty council for digital studies. And maybe I'll start with that positioning, because I think media and mediation have really become vivid for my own thinking in terms of digital theories of the glitch, of the less than let's say effectual in the communication of a given expressive mode, and the digital, because it was a medium revolution that happened during my own lifetime, was super visible to me in terms of the new kinds of expression that it demanded, or the ways in which it changed the topography of expression, and it became a real flashpoint for my thinking about what I took as automatic or neutral domains or practices of expression in historical context. So, as someone who came into academic study through Renaissance drama, media was never really an organizing concept, but I find it a great problematizer for thinking about what's automatic in the form.
Hi again, Adrienne Brown, faculty in English and Race, Diaspora, and Indigeneity. I guess for me, the medium I've most extensively thought about has been architecture, and the way that architecture is always very materially shaping the ways that we perceive the facets of aesthetic experience. So the way that buildings are always part of how we learn to see, know, understand, and feel in the world, and particularly focusing on racial aesthetics and racial experience, how buildings are always mediating the experience of race and producing ways of understanding racial aesthetics. I might add that what's exciting about thinking media aesthetics here is that for many, I would say almost all of our colleagues, we don't take those terms for granted, which makes them at times hard to talk about, right? So like, what is a media? What are the limits of the container? What's at the edge of performance, the edge of sculpture, at the edge of a digital field, right? Like, and how do we constitute that, right? Like, we're always asking those questions, right? Rather than taking for granted that we know a film is a film, or a book is a book, or a building is a building, right? Constantly kind of question, well, what is a media? Is race a media? Is skateboarding a media, right? And what's useful or generative about thinking expansively about questions of media and mediation? I would say the same is true of aesthetics, right? Like, how do media make things register to us? How do they appear to us? How do they make us feel? And this question, well, what is an aesthetic? What is aesthetic, and how do we produce it? Why does it matter? How do we study it? In my own work, I'm thinking about the difference between aesthetics and bureaucracy, and judgment, and really thinking about the ways that an appraiser looking at a house is making an aesthetic judgment as they're making an economic judgment. What's the line between those two things? It's a really interesting place to sit. So I think the idea that, well, all of these terms are in flux, that we're asking questions about them, and we're really interested in the concepts themselves, rather than just kind of reproducing what we know as aesthetics or what we know already to be media, makes Chicago a really exciting place to think about topics.